Queen bee, want no smoke with me. Okay. Been turn this motherfucker up 800-degree. Whole team eat chefs cause she's a treat.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the KBreDazz Reaction channel. It is December 1st, which means I'm going to try and upload every month of December, Christmas, December, you guys. But today's video is going to be not top 10 Family Guy fan theories so crazy they may actually be true. Let's get into this video.
Here's a little something to make you feel old. Family Guy premiered
That
almost
might
20
be
years
true.
ago in 1999. Over 300 episodes later, the show has amassed one of the most dedicated
I watched
fan
Family Guy a
bases
little
out
bit.
there who love to come up with some pretty crazy theories about the show. From the depths of Reddit, fueled by
I wasn't a super
creativity,
fan of it, but I watched
imagination,
it.
and probably Red Bull, these fan theories might change the way you see Family Guy forever. Enjoy this trip into parts of the Family Guy universe that you never knew existed. And don't forget to hit the red subscribe
Don't
button
forget to hit the red
stay up to date with
subscribe
all
button.
of our exciting Screen Rant videos.
Sir, you're not allowed to be on the carousel.
Well, and maybe you shouldn't have named it such a fun word.
Brian has been writing the show all along. Since the show's conception, fans have theorized that Brian is the real voice of Seth MacFarlane. They share the same political and religious beliefs, attitude, opinions about the world, and MacFarlane doesn't even change his natural voice to play the character. But some have taken it even further, to wonder if Brian himself has actually been writing the show since the very beginning. Fans have gathered from across the internet to proclaim that Brian is the mastermind behind the Griffin family, and they have some pretty good ideas to back up their claims. For one, it would explain why Brian seems to be the only animal in the Family Guy universe that can talk, hold down a job, and date a stream of beautiful women without question. It also accounts for the fact that every other character's personality is exaggerated, and why the residents of Quahog are, well, not the brightest bulbs in the box. Brian is clearly the smartest of the bunch, and it makes sense that he would write himself that way. To justify their theory even further, fans speculate that this accounts for the high energy of the show and the way it jumps around with its endless cutaways and many storylines. Brian is still a dog, and he has the attention span to match.
Brian, you really should.
The world is small and safe when I do this.
Seth MacFarlane is in love with Alex Borstein. This one might be a
Oh my
bit of a
gosh.
stretch. Countless theories exist that speculate that Seth MacFarlane, Family Guy creator and voice of Peter, Quagmire, Brian, and
What
Stewie,
episode
has
was
long
that?
been in love with Alex Borstein, the voice of Lois, Loretta Brown, Cleveland's first wife, and
Really?
Trisha Takanawa. They say because Borstein is married in real life, MacFarlane is acting out his feelings toward her through his characters. Peter is married to Lois, Quagmire has long lusted after his redheaded neighbor, and has had affairs with both Loretta and Trish Takanawa. Brian has been shown to be secretly in love with Lois, but hiding it from the family in order to continue to live with them. And Stewie, well, it's not too difficult to see Stewie has had a bit of an Oedipus complex going on. Stewie's early fascination with killing Lois can be pretty easily linked to the idea that he is jealous of Peter and wants to keep his mother all to himself, if you use your imagination a little. Fans imagine that MacFarlane has been encouraging his team of writers to continue to romantically entangle their
Ew.
respective characters together in order to keep getting to
Yeah.
live out his fantasy in the recording booth.
You gonna fart in this airtight booth all night?
It wasn't me.
We're the only two people in here.
Stewie's modeling career.
Stewie
Year
model?
after year, the question on every Family Guy viewer's mind is, how does Peter manage to afford all of his crazy hijinks? Buying and crashing a helicopter designed to look like your own head into your best friend's house isn't cheap, and we hope you at least help to pay for some of the renovations afterward. Well, this fan theory has the answer, sort of. Family Guy enthusiasts have decided that Stewie has been a very successful child model since season 2, and Peter uses Stewie's earnings to make his dreams come true. In the 11th episode of season 2, Stewie lands a campaign for Calvin Klein, and while it never is addressed again, fans believe that his career took off from there, turning Stewie into a baby supermodel on the side.
Bro, look at that
Together,
jacket.
Because Peter is famous for being irresponsible and impulsive, he spends the money on whatever he pleases rather than saving for Stewie's future. This idea also explains why Peter rarely seems to go to work and how the family never suffers because of it. Though this problem is not Family Guy specific. In fact, they share it with pretty much every sitcom. How did the people on Friends live in that giant apartment? And what exactly did anyone on How I Met Your Mother do for a living? We digress.
You should see the way I have to pick up chicks. Hi.
Brian is a human. It has long been accepted that
Is he
Family
a
Guy,
human?
the Cleveland Show, and American Dad are all part of the same wacky universe. And that's how Family Guy fans came up with this theory. The idea that Brian was once a human, whose brain has been implanted into the body of a dog, really does answer so many questions. Like, how come Brian was the only one out of his litter with the ability to speak and be understood by people? Why does everyone just accept that a dog has dated nothing but beautiful human women? And why were they willing
There's
to
one
date him
dog.
back? And finally, what kind of DMV employee gave a dog a license to drive? Using the same logic applied to Klaus, the talking goldfish with the brain
American
of a
Dad.
German Olympic athlete from American Dad, it is entirely possible to imagine that Brian underwent a similar operation that made him the book-writing, whiskey-drinking atheist Brian we know and love today. This also ties into an explanation for that giant chicken that Peter is always getting into brawls with. He too is a victim of the same CIA experimentation, but in his case, gone horribly, horribly wrong.
Don't talk to me. You have a bad reputation in the chicken community.
Stewie Griffin, the
Stewie!
Untold Story, and 9/11? This theory is a bit of a doozy. If there's anything that the internet loves to speculate about, it's the events of 9/11. Though tying them into Family Guy isn't something that many of us would have expected. The story behind this theory is actually pretty amazing. Seth MacFarlane was scheduled to be on one of the planes that were hijacked that day, but because of a hangover, he missed it by 10 minutes, making that morning the only time in history that someone has ever been grateful for a hangover.
Really? In
the
real
Family
life?
Guy movie, Stewie Griffin, The Untold Story, Stewie is almost killed when he blows up a lifeguard tower and finds himself changed by the near-death experience. He later encounters his future
Oh, I
self,
remember
who
that
is not
one.
the man he had hoped to become.
I watched that
all
one.
because of the incident with the lifeguard tower. This causes Stewie to go back in time to prevent the explosion from ever taking place. Some have wondered if this is MacFarlane's way of reconciling his feelings about that day, especially when Stewie says the very on-the-nose sounding line, "Yes, I did it! I stopped the tower from falling!" This has never been confirmed by MacFarlane himself, so I guess the internet will have to keep doing what it does best, speculating.
And thank God their follow-up attack on St. Louis was a bust.
We missed! Meg will transition into Ron. Fans have wondered for years when and if Mila Kunis will leave the Family Guy family. An Oscar-nominated movie star in her own right, they wonder how long Kunis will continue to be interested in playing the character of Meg, who is so often the butt of the joke and the obvious outcast from the rest of the family. On top of that, there is speculation about what the salary of an A-list actress must be, and how willing the studio will be to continue to pay it for years to come. While Kunis has made no public mention of wanting to leave, fans have ideas about how the show will cover it up, should it ever be necessary. In the 4th season of the 3rd installment of Stewie Griffin, The Untold Story, Meg is shown in the future as having transitioned into a man named Ron. They believe this would be the best way to phase out the character of Meg, by having her undergo this transition in real time. For a show that has always been political and of the
Star
moment,
Trek.
it's entirely possible that the writers would not shy away from such a storyline. But let's hope if they do, they consult a person who actually has gone through it themselves.
I think gender reassignment surgery is very brave, and the fat man should win some kind of award for it.
It's all in Stewie's head. Fans of the show have long since made peace with the fact that Stewie is a genius baby who can talk, and have
'Cause why
pretty
does he
much
stay a
stopped trying
baby
to
forever?
understand who can hear him and when. Except for this theory.
'Cause he's
that has an
dreaming.
interesting explanation for the whole thing. The idea is that everything on the show takes place from Stewie's perspective, whether they're his memories or his interpretation of events that the family had told him later. The reason only Brian can seem to really understand him is because children always form deep bonds with their pets, and can imagine that they understand each other. If we see the Family Guy world through Stewie's eyes, it explains why he has a secret laboratory filled with advanced weapons, why he's a genius inventor beyond his years, and why he is objectively smarter than everyone else in the family. Like the first theory about Brian being the brain behind the whole show we mentioned before, every other character is exaggerated in their silliness because it's how Stewie sees them. It also explains why he has a mysterious accent. Who doesn't imagine they sound sophisticated and British in
Dang.
their own minds from time to
Okay,
time?
Queen.
Just me? Well, moving on.
Welcome to the world, baby chap.
I'm British?
It's all in Peter's head. Continuing along the "it's all in your head" line of thinking, this theory wonders if Family Guy is a creation of Peter's mind,
Y'all just said
but with a dark twist. Remember that episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where Buffy becomes convinced that she's really in an asylum and her vampire fighting life is all a delusion and tries to kill all of her friends? Yeah, this is darker than that. The story is that in the real world of Family Guy, a young and beautiful Meg once took her brother Chris to a party, but ended up getting them both killed in a fatal car accident. Wait, there's more. When Lois, who was pregnant with Stewie found out, she couldn't handle the grief and took her
Oh my
own
gosh.
life. Peter, left all alone after the death of his entire family, ended up in an institution and receded into his own mind, where he created the family that he wished had survived. Whew. While extremely depressing, this theory does explain why Peter hates Meg so much, as he is taking out his anger at her for causing the tragedy. It also explains why Stewie never ages, as Peter never saw his real son grow up. Fans believe that in the fantasy, Ryan is Peter, who was an intelligent, intellectual person before the accident. Never say Family Guy fans aren't creative.
Must be all the violence in movies and sex on TV.
Lois is going to leave Peter. There has been a lot of talk in recent years about how the feeling of Family Guy has changed, from silly comedic cartoon to considerably darker serial television show. The characters have gotten more serious and flawed, and in particular, Lois has seemed to have lost some of her original spark. One of the justifications for this is that Lois is preparing to leave Peter and their marriage. While it seems unlikely that the writers would take the show that far in another direction, there seems to be some evidence
stuck to the couch.
possibility. Lois, driven to the edge by her husband's over-the-top antics, is unable to good-naturedly put up with him anymore, and has started dropping hints about her unhappiness. Even Stewie has mentioned it. In a season 11 episode, he tells a drunk Peter that Lois has emotionally moved on, and that she already has 2 cell phones. It's well documented that Lois's dad, Carter, hates Peter, and has offered her money to divorce him. So we know she'd be in no financial trouble if she did end up leaving. While this is all just speculation, and we are still talking about a cartoon here, you do have to wonder just how many shenanigans Lois can possibly put up with before she finally snaps.
Have a good life, Mr. G. Your penis is out.
Meg is Stewie's real mom. This theory is completely out of the blue and totally wacky, which makes it one of the most fun ones out there. Fans speculate that before the show went to air, Meg had a boyfriend with a football-shaped head, perhaps, who left town when she became pregnant. In an effort to protect her daughter, Lois covered up the event, pretended to be pregnant, faked a childbirth, and took on the role of Stewie's mother. Apparently, she was able to convince Peter that this was the truth because, well, it's Peter. And the same goes for Chris. The only people who know the real truth are Meg, Lois, and Brian. The theory was made stronger when fans claimed that wherever Stewie's birth was referenced, it had always been from his perspective, so we never really saw who his mother was. Unfortunately for believers, this one has been debunked. In season 11, episode 4, we actually do see Lois giving birth to Stewie. And in season 4, there is an episode devoted to Meg losing her virginity to Jimmy Fallon, making it impossible for her to have a baby 4 years earlier. I guess we are still forever left to wonder where in the gene pool Stewie got that head shape.
I know.
Hey, so close.
Ooh.
Good God, are you all right? Fine, why do you ask?
So
Wow. 10 Family Guy fan theories so crazy they might be true. Of course, the last one couldn't have been true, but I think that, either the first one, Brian, is the mastermind of Family Guy, or Family Guy is actually Stewie's imagination. Either one of those seems more realistic. What do you guys think? I don't know. You guys want me to watch this? This is pretty interesting. But yeah, this is a very interesting video, you guys. I'm going to be reacting all December. So give me you guys reaction videos. Yeah. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe. Push that bell to be notified when next video drops, you guys. This has been
Queen bee, want no smoke with me.